You're running late, my mom said, tapping her watch as I pulled into their driveway. I glanced at my car's digital clock, 6:07 a.m. 7 minutes late. Sorry, Mom. Traffic was heavier than I expected, I replied, forcing a smile while getting out to help with the luggage. I'd been planning this trip for 3 years, saving every extra penny from my marketing director's salary, meticulously researching hotels, tours, and restaurants across Paris, Rome, and Barcelona. This was supposed to be my gift to them, a thank you for supporting me through college and my early career struggles. As I popped the trunk, I heard the front door open again. My heart stopped when I saw my sister Melissa dragging her suitcase behind her, a smug smile plastered across her face. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice tight as I watched her approach the car. My mom turned to me with that placating smile I knew too well. "Oh, Emma, we decided Melissa should join us instead of you. She's been so stressed since losing her job at the restaurant last month. She really needs this getaway to clear her head." I stood frozen, my hand still on the trunk lid. "Instead of me? Mom, I'm the one who planned this entire trip. I paid for everything." She waved her hand dismissively. "And we appreciate that, sweetheart. But you're always so busy with work. You can take vacation time whenever you want. Melissa really needs this opportunity right now." Melissa didn't even try to look guilty. She just pushed past me to load her suitcase. "Thanks for understanding, sis. You're the best." The rage building inside me was unlike anything I'd felt before. 3 years of overtime shifts, skipped vacations, and careful budgeting, all so my unemployed sister could enjoy luxury hotels in Europe while I stayed behind. My dad finally emerged from the house, his eyes carefully avoiding mine as he approached with his suitcase. "Morning, Emma." "Dad," I managed, my voice barely controlled. "Did you know about this?" He shifted uncomfortably. "Your mother thought it would be good for Melissa. You know how she's been struggling." "This is unbelievable," I said, my voice shaking. "This was meant to be our trip. Something special I wanted to share with you both after planning it for years." "It still is," my mom insisted. "Just with Melissa instead. Don't make this into a bigger deal than it needs to be, Emma. Your sister really needs a break." I bit the inside of my cheek so hard I tasted blood. 32 years old, and somehow I was still the responsible one expected to sacrifice everything while Melissa, at 29, coasted through life on everyone else's dime. "Fine," I said finally, the word like acid on my tongue. I popped the trunk and started loading their luggage. "Let's get going then." The 40-minute drive to Boston Logan International was excruciating. From the back seat, Melissa chatted excitedly about all the Instagram photos she'd take at the Eiffel Tower. "Did you see that TikTok about the secret spot to get the best view of the tower? We have to go there, Mom. Oh, and I read about this amazing little cafe near our hotel that all the locals go to." Our hotel. The 5-star accommodation I'd splurged on because my parents had always dreamed of staying somewhere truly luxurious just once in their lives. My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter as I stared straight ahead. My mom chuckled from the passenger seat. "We'll make time for everything, honey. This trip is going to be wonderful." I caught my dad's reflection in the rearview mirror. For a brief moment, our eyes met, and I thought I detected a flash of guilt before he looked away. "Thank you for driving us, Emma," he said quietly. "I know this probably feels awkward." "Awkward," I repeated flatly. "That's certainly one way to put it, Dad." Melissa leaned forward between the front seats. "You're not mad, right?" I mean, this is really cool of you. There's no way I could have afforded something like this. I forced a tight smile. Just enjoy the trip, Melissa. When we pulled up to the International Departures Terminal, I helped unload their luggage in silence. My mom hugged me tightly. Thank you for understanding, sweetheart. This means so much to us, and to Melissa. I nodded stiffly, not trusting myself to speak. Melissa beamed as she wheeled her suitcase toward the entrance. Thanks, Emma. You're seriously the best sister ever. I stood there watching them disappear into the terminal, a knot of anger and betrayal tightening in my chest. When they were out of sight, I got back in my car and sat there, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Then a thought occurred to me. A deliciously satisfying thought. The drive back to my apartment in Cambridge flew by as my plan took shape. As soon as I got home, I marched straight to my desk, opened my laptop, and logged into every travel account I'd used to book the trip. 5-star hotel in Paris? Cancelled. Private guided tour of the Louvre? Cancelled. Michelin-starred dinner reservations? Cancelled. Luxury hotel in Rome with a view of the Colosseum? Cancelled. Exclusive wine tasting tour in Barcelona? Cancelled. With each confirmation email that appeared in my inbox, the tightness in my chest began to ease. They wanted to take Melissa instead of me? Fine. But they weren't going to do it on my dime, in the luxury I had painstakingly arranged for us. When I finally closed my laptop, a sense of satisfaction settled over me. For once, I wasn't going to be the family doormat. Let them figure it out when they arrived. I poured myself a glass of wine, the expensive bottle I'd been saving to celebrate my promotion last month, and raised it in a silent toast to my new backbone. The calls started exactly 9 hours later, just as I was getting ready for bed. My phone lit up with my mom's name, followed by several missed calls and increasingly frantic text messages. Emma, what's going on? The hotel says they have no reservation for us. Emma, call me immediately. This isn't funny. Emma, we're stranded in Paris with nowhere to stay. Fix this now. I silenced my phone and slipped it into my nightstand drawer. For once, their emergency wasn't my problem. The next morning, I woke to 27 missed calls and a voicemail from Melissa that made me laugh out loud. Emma, what the hell? We're stuck in some crappy hotel near the airport because all the decent places in the city are booked. Mom is freaking out, and Dad looks like he's about to have a heart attack. This is so petty, even for you. Call us back and fix this right now. I deleted the voicemail and made myself a cup of coffee, savoring the quiet of my apartment. For the first time in years, I didn't feel that familiar rush of anxiety to solve everyone else's problems. By midday, my dad had started calling too. His messages were calmer but no less insistent. Emma, I understand you're upset, but this isn't the way to handle it. Your mother is extremely stressed, and Melissa is in tears. We need to talk about this like adults. Like adults. That made me snort. Was it adult to take your unemployed daughter on a luxury vacation that your other daughter had paid for without even discussing it first? Finally, after my third cup of coffee, I decided to answer my mom's call. Emma Elizabeth Marshall, she barked the moment I picked up. What have you done? We've been forced to stay in a terrible hotel, none of the tours are booked, and the restaurants have no record of our reservations. I cancelled them, I said calmly, stirring another spoonful of sugar into my coffee. The shocked silence on the other end was deeply satisfying. You, what? She finally sputtered. Why would you do something so vindictive? Vindictive? I repeated, my voice sharp. That's rich, Mom. You decided at the last minute that I wasn't even welcome on the trip I spent 3 years planning and paying for. Did you honestly think I'd still fund your vacation with Melissa? We thought you'd understand, she hissed. Melissa needed this break more than you did. No, Mom, what you thought was that I'd roll over like I always do. That I'd smile and nod and let Melissa take what's mine, again, because that's what I've always done. Well, not this time. I can't believe you're being so selfish, she snapped. We're your parents, Emma. We've done everything for you. I laughed, a short, bitter sound. And I've been grateful. So grateful that I worked overtime for 3 years to plan this trip for us. But you couldn't even be bothered to include me in it. Melissa is listening to all of this, my mom said, clearly trying to shame me. She's very upset. Hi, Melissa, I called out, loud enough for her to hear. Enjoying Paris? Oh wait, you can't, because it's not your trip. It was mine. I ended the call before either of them could respond and turned my phone off completely. The silence of my apartment felt like freedom. Over the next few days, I immersed myself in work and ignored the constant barrage of messages and calls. My colleague, Jake, noticed my improved mood during our Monday meeting. You seem different today, he remarked as we walked back to our offices. Did something happen over the weekend? I smiled. Let's just say I finally stood up for myself in a situation where I normally wouldn't. He raised his eyebrows. Family stuff? How'd you guess? Because you're the most assertive person I know at work, but whenever your sister calls, you turn into a completely different person. I stopped walking, surprised by his observation. Is it that obvious? To everyone except you, apparently. He smiled. Well, I'm glad you're setting boundaries. It suits you. By day 4, my curiosity got the better of me, and I turned my phone back on. The messages had evolved from angry demands to guilt-laden pleas. From Mom, Emma, this is going too far. We're having a miserable time, and it's all because you're being spiteful. From Melissa, way to ruin everything. I hope you're happy now that no one's having any fun. And finally, from Dad, Emma, I'm disappointed in you. This isn't who we raised you to be. That last one stung more than I wanted to admit. I sat on my couch, phone in hand, suddenly questioning whether I'd gone too far. But then I remembered the look on my mom's face when she so casually informed me that Melissa was taking my place, as if my feelings didn't matter at all. No, I decided. I hadn't gone too far. For once, I'd stood up for myself, and if they couldn't understand that, it was their problem, not mine. The final call came the day before they were set to return home. I was working from home, finishing up a client presentation, when my phone rang with my dad's number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Emma, he began, his voice weary. We'll be home tomorrow evening. Your mother wants to know if you'll pick us up from the airport. The audacity was almost impressive. Are you serious right now, Dad? He sighed heavily. Look, I know you're upset. Upset doesn't begin to cover it, I interrupted. And no, I won't be picking you up. Take a cab. Emma, please. We've had a very difficult week. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, not feeling sorry at all. But I'm not available. Your sister is devastated, he tried again. This was supposed to be a special trip for her. Something inside me snapped. No, Dad. This was supposed to be a special trip for us. For you, Mom, and me. I planned it for 3 years. I saved for it. I researched every detail to make it perfect. And then you all decided without consulting me that Melissa deserved it more, like you always do. So no, I won't be picking you up tomorrow. I won't be making this easier for any of you. There was a long pause before he spoke again. I think we need to have a family meeting when we get back. I'll think about it, I said and hung up. The following evening, instead of driving to the airport, I treated myself to dinner at my favorite restaurant in Cambridge. I ordered the most expensive wine on the menu and raised my glass in a toast to myself. To boundaries, I murmured, taking a sip of the rich Cabernet. My phone buzzed with a text from my mom, "We're home. Your father had to pay $95 for a cab. I hope you're satisfied with yourself." I put my phone away without responding and focused on enjoying my meal. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't rushing to fix someone else's problem. The feeling was intoxicating. 3 days passed before I heard from them again. This time, it was Melissa who showed up unannounced at my apartment door on Saturday morning. "We need to talk," she said when I opened the door, pushing past me into the living room without waiting for an invitation. "Good morning to you too, Melissa," I said dryly, closing the door behind her. "How was Europe?" She glared at me, dropping onto my couch. "It was a disaster, and you know it. We ended up in crappy hotels, missed out on all the tours you'd planned, and Mom cried almost every day." "That sounds really challenging," I replied, leaning against the wall with my arms crossed. "Is that all you have to say?" She threw her hands up in exasperation. "Emma, you ruined what was supposed to be an amazing trip." "No, Melissa. You and Mom did that when you decided I wasn't welcome on my own trip." She rolled her eyes dramatically. "God, you're still on that? Look, Mom thought I needed the break more than you did. It's not like it was personal." I stared at her, incredulous. How is cutting me out of a trip I planned and paid for not personal? "Because it's not always about you," she snapped. "Some of us are struggling, you know. We don't all have fancy marketing jobs and nice apartments." "And whose fault is that?" I asked quietly. "I've worked for everything I have, Melissa. I put myself through college. I started at the bottom and worked my way up. I've never had anything handed to me, unlike you." Her face flushed with anger. "That's not fair." "No, what's not fair is how you've spent your entire life taking whatever you want without any consideration for others. What's not fair is how Mom and Dad always expect me to sacrifice for you. What's not fair is being told I'm selfish for finally saying enough is enough." She stood up abruptly. "I came here to give you a chance to apologize. Mom and Dad are really hurt by what you did." I laughed, the sound hollow even to my own ears. "They're hurt? That's rich. Get out of my apartment, Melissa. And tell Mom and Dad that if they want to talk, they can call first instead of sending you as their messenger." After she left, I sat on my couch, shaking with a mixture of anger and something else, pride, maybe. For the first time, I'd stood my ground with my sister, and it felt good. The family meeting my dad had suggested happened a week later, though not in the way any of us expected. My mom called on Thursday to invite me to Sunday dinner, her voice carefully neutral, as if nothing had happened. "We need to clear the air," she said. "Your father's making his lasagna." My dad's lasagna was legendary, his special recipe reserved for important family occasions and peace offerings. I hesitated, torn between the desire to maintain my distance and the pull of possibly resolving this mess. "I'll think about it," I said finally. "Please come, Emma," she said, her voice softening. "We miss you." Those 3 words, "we miss you," nearly broke my resolve. Despite everything, they were still my parents, and some childish part of me still craved their approval. Fine, I agreed. I'll be there at 6. Sunday arrived with a knot of anxiety in my stomach. As I drove to my parents' house in Lexington, the same house I'd grown up in, I rehearsed what I wanted to say. No more being a pushover. No more putting Melissa's needs above my own. No more being the family fixer. My mom opened the door before I could even knock, pulling me into a tight hug. "I'm so glad you came," she whispered. The house smelled like garlic and tomato sauce, the comforting scent of Dad's lasagna. Melissa was already there, sitting at the kitchen counter with a glass of wine. She barely looked at me as I entered. "Emma," my dad said, emerging from the kitchen in his Kiss the Cook apron. "Good to see you." Dinner was a tense affair. We ate in relative silence, the only sounds the clinking of forks against plates and occasional forced small talk about the weather and my dad's garden. Finally, as Mom cleared the plates and brought out coffee, Dad cleared his throat. "I think we need to address what happened with the Europe trip." I set down my coffee cup, bracing myself. "Yes, I think we do. Your mother and I have discussed it," he continued, glancing at Mom for support. "And we realize we handled things poorly." "Poorly?" I repeated. "Dad, you cut me out of a trip I spent 3 years planning and paying for, without even discussing it with me first. That's not handling things poorly. That's being incredibly disrespectful and hurtful." "We didn't mean to hurt you," Mom interjected, her eyes pleading. "We just thought Melissa needed the opportunity more than you did. She's been having such a hard time lately." I looked at Melissa, who was studying her coffee intently, avoiding my gaze. "And what about what I need?" I asked quietly. "Did either of you consider that? Did you think about how it would feel to be told I wasn't welcome on my own trip?" "Of course we considered it," Dad insisted. "We just thought, you thought I'd go along with it like I always do," I finished for him. "Because that's what I've always done. I've always been the responsible one, the one who makes sacrifices, the one who puts everyone else first." "That's not fair, Emma," Mom said. "We don't ask you to sacrifice." "You don't have to ask, Mom. It's expected. It's been that way my entire life." The silence that followed was heavy. Finally, Melissa looked up from her coffee. "I'm sorry," she said, surprising me. "I shouldn't have taken your place on the trip. That was selfish of me." It was perhaps the first genuine apology I'd ever received from my sister. I wasn't quite ready to forgive her, but it was a start. "Thank you for saying that," I replied carefully. "And we're sorry too," Dad added. "We should have talked to you first, instead of just assuming. That was wrong of us." Mom reached across the table to take my hand. "We don't want to lose you, Emma. You're our daughter, and we love you. But I can see now that we've taken you for granted, and that stops today." I felt tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. "I love you both too. But things have to change. I can't keep being the one who's expected to give up everything for Melissa." "And you shouldn't have to," Dad agreed, shooting a pointed look at Melissa. "We all need to do better." The conversation wasn't easy, and at times it grew heated, especially when Melissa tried to downplay her part in the situation. But by the end of the evening, we'd reached a tentative understanding. Things wouldn't change overnight, but at least we'd taken the first step. As I drove home that night, I felt lighter somehow. Standing up for myself hadn't been easy, and it hadn't been pretty, but it had been necessary. And maybe, just maybe, my family was finally starting to understand that. 2 weeks later, I received an unexpected email from my dad. It was a confirmation for a cooking class in Boston, Italian cuisine mastery, father-daughter edition. I thought maybe we could start our own tradition, his accompanying message read. Just the two of us. No drama, no Melissa, no mom. Just us cooking and talking and spending time together. I smiled at my screen, feeling a warmth spread through my chest. It wasn't a luxury trip to Europe, but in many ways it was better. It was recognition of me as an individual, not just as the responsible daughter who could be counted on to sacrifice everything for everyone else. I'd love that, Dad, I replied. Sign us up. Over the next few months, my relationship with my family began to shift. It wasn't perfect, Melissa still had her moments of entitlement, and Mom still occasionally tried to guilt me into doing things for my sister. But now, I had the courage to say no. To set boundaries. To put myself first when necessary. And something unexpected happened, they began to respect me more for it. 6 months after the Europe debacle, I took my own solo trip to Italy. Not to spite anyone or prove a point, but because it was something I'd always wanted to do for myself. I spent 10 glorious days exploring Rome, Florence, and the Amalfi Coast, answering to no one's schedule but my own. On my last night in Rome, sitting at a small cafe near the Trevi Fountain, I pulled out my journal and wrote, "For so long, I thought loving my family meant always putting them first, even at the cost of my own happiness. I was wrong. True love, for them and for myself, means having the courage to stand up for what I need. It means setting boundaries. It means sometimes saying no. And paradoxically, it's made me love them more completely, because now it's a choice, not an obligation." As I closed my journal and sipped my wine, watching the tourists toss coins in the fountain, I felt a sense of peace unlike anything I'd experienced before. I'd learned the most important lesson of my life, that sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for others, and yourself, is to stop being a doormat and start being authentically you. When I returned home, I found a package waiting at my door. Inside was a framed photo of my parents and me from my college graduation, along with a note from my mom, "We've always been proud of you, Emma. But never more so than we are now, watching you become the strong, independent woman who knows her own worth. We love you, not for what you do for us, but for who you are." I placed the photo on my mantle, a reminder that sometimes, the hardest conversations lead to the most beautiful outcomes. And that standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's absolutely necessary if you want true, honest relationships with the people you love. As for Melissa, she finally found a job as an assistant at a local art gallery. It wasn't glamorous, and it didn't pay much, but it was a start. And for the first time in her life, she was doing it without relying on our parents, or me, to bail her out when things got tough. One evening, as we met for a rare sisterly coffee date, she looked at me with something I'd never seen in her eyes before, respect. "You know," she said, stirring her latte, "I was really angry at you for a long time after the Europe thing. But now, I think I get it. You taught me something important." "What's that?" I asked, genuinely curious. She smiled, a little sadly. "That no one will value you if you don't value yourself first." I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Perhaps there was hope for us after all. As for me, I'd learned the most important lesson of all, that sometimes, the greatest act of love is having the courage to say no, to stand firm in your worth and demand the respect you deserve. It wasn't always easy, and there were still moments of doubt and guilt. But I wouldn't trade my newfound backbone for anything in the world. Because in the end, I'd discovered that the real luxury wasn't a trip to Europe or a stay in a 5-star hotel. It was the freedom to be myself, to set boundaries, and to know with absolute certainty that I deserved nothing less than respect from my family, and most importantly, from myself.